This is the Balancing Act by Security Compass, your guide to going fast while staying safe in today's digital world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast today. Our guest is Andy Woyzbun, who comes with a wealth of knowledge from the industry and has been a CIO several times in the past. Welcome to the podcast, Andy.
Thanks, Altaz.
So just to kick this off, Andy, hear a lot in the industry now about automation and how DevOps is important. However, there's another element to this, which is about risk and compliance and security. And traditionally, we found that there's this sort of zero-sum approach. We need to do one or the other. Now, can you talk a little bit about this emerging idea of balanced development automation, not just the technical side, but the risk and the compliance side as well? And how can we get the business and the risk executives at that strategy level to align on this idea of balanced development automation?
Well, I think, first of all, Altaz, that when we talk about risk, what represents a risk for the business people is different than the risk that's perceived by the development group. And I'll give you an example. If there's an urgent requirement for some sort of additional business functionality in response, for example, to competitive action, or as we see now in response to a pandemic, from a business standpoint, the risk probably represents a failure to deliver an effective solution within the particular time frame that is required. And so I think from an IT standpoint, you have to recognize the fact that the business or the business concerns about risk may in fact be different than the concerns of the IT department. And it's my view that it's kind of a futile exercise very often to try to convince business management to think in terms of IT perceived risk as opposed to business risk. And if you really want management to pay attention, then you have to be able to get them to be concerned about the risks that you see as IT as real from their perspective. And if they don't see the impact of the risk, they don't see the likelihood of the risk, they're not going to pay any attention to anything you say, and their pressure is going to be get this damn thing done as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And when we look at the two different groups that exist out there, those that are focused on business and those that are focused on risk, have you seen from your experience that even at the executive level that the risk or the definition of risk, even at that high level, moving aside just the sort of core technical DevOps types discussions, even at that high level, that there still exists this discrepancy in identifying what risk really is?
I think so, and I think there's a difference between similar management levels in different organizations, even in the same industry. So if you look, for example, at the whole issue of security and how much effort should we be paying to validate the security of a system that we're putting in place or that we already have in place, if you happen to be in an organization that's experienced a breach, then you're much more likely to have a management team that is concerned about that. In a different organization that has not seen any security breach impact them, will probably not pay as much attention to making the appropriate investments to make sure that the systems are secure.
Mm-hmm. And let's dig down a little bit deeper then. So we've got people at the executive level that are considering risk, and then we also have the DevOps engineers now, and we've got our security engineers and they also somehow need to align, except they're operating more at the tactical level. Can you talk a little bit about how these teams that are either at the program or project levels might be able to integrate and think about balancing development with risk and security and these sort of other areas?
Okay, so if we look at the risk and we look at it from the perspective of the development team, and I don't care what technology you're using to develop an application, or even if you're implementing someone else's application, from an IT standpoint, one of the risks that, and it's probably the most likely risk, is that you're going to screw up the functionality of the particular project that you're doing. So if you look, for example, the federal government and their Phoenix payroll system, that's an example not of a security risk, but a delivery risk. And I think that, in my experience, senior management is very concerned about delivery risk. And the way that it tends to manifest itself, of course, is that if you delay things, if you allow the business to change their mind during the particular project, you increase the risk and the likelihood that you're not going to deliver the functionality that's required, notwithstanding the timing. It's just going to be crap. And simply because you haven't managed the project effectively, you have not stabilized requirements, you have not done adequate testing, that to me is an extremely high risk that development groups need to be aware of, and a development group needs to apply a methodology and an approach that will minimize the likelihood of a gap between the expected outcome of the project and the actual outcome.
Wonderful, that's great. Thank you very much, Andy, for your time today in talking to us. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And, yeah, so have yourself a wonderful day, Andy. Thank you.
Okay, stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Can't get enough of the balancing act? Make sure to check out our website at www.securitycompass.com and be sure to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts for more episodes.